Hello and welcome to Styla's Sew Along for the Felida pattern. Felida is a knit pattern featuring a lined bodice and a unique V-shaped neckline. Let's get started. Lay the bodice front right side up. Place the back bodice on top, right sides together. Align the shoulders and sew to attach at the shoulders using a stretch stitch or serger and a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance for both the lining and main. Press the shoulder seams of the main bodice towards the back and the shoulder seams of the lining towards the front. Applying lightweight interfacing on the bodice main can help achieve perfectly angled corners. Using a disappearing marking tool, mark the 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance at the 3 corners of the front neckline on the main bodice. Make sure to clearly mark each pivot point. Lay the bodice lining right side up. Place the bodice main on top, right sides together. Align the shoulders and neckline, ensuring the shoulder seams are nested in opposite directions. Starting about 2 inches or 5 centimeters to the left of the previously marked corners, sew to attach using a stretch stitch and a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance. Sew exactly on the marks. When the first pivot point is reached, lift the presser foot and, leaving the needle in its downward position, pivot the bodice around the needle until the second part of the marked line aligns with the presser foot. Lower the foot and continue sewing along the neckline. Repeat these steps for pivoting around the next 2 corners. After finishing the third corner, continue sewing for about 2 inches or 5 centimeters. Sew the remaining neckline circumference using a stretch stitch or serger and a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance. Clip the corners, making sure to clip as close as possible to, but not through, the stitching. Turn the bodice right side out by pushing the lining through the neck opening. Hover an iron over the neckline of the bodice using a steam setting. This will help pull the neckline back into shape if stretched while stitching. Press the neckline, making sure the corners of the neckline are crisp. Leaving the 3 top layers in place, separate the back bodice main. Fold the back bodice main over the 3 layers so it's right sides together with the front main. Align all 4 layers and pin and clip to hold in place. The front and back bodice main are right sides together with both lining layers below. Make sure the underarm seams are aligned perfectly. Sew to attach using a stretch stitch or serger with a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance. Turn the bodice right side out. Baste the lining and main fabrics together around the circumference of the arm openings and waist. Fold the bottom raw edge of the sleeves 5/8 of an inch or 1.6 centimeters wrong sides together. Press to create a memory crease. This will make it easier to hem the sleeve in a future step. Unfold the memory crease. Fold the sleeve in half, right sides together. Sew the raw edge using a stretch stitch or a serger and a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance. Refold the memory crease at the hem of the sleeve. Edge stitch to secure the hem using a stretch stitch or a cover stitch, leaving a 3/4 inch or 2 centimeter opening to create an elastic casing. Using a safety pin or bodkin, thread the 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter elastic through the casing. Once the end of the elastic is reached, secure it next to the opening so it doesn't slip into the casing. Making sure the elastic does not get twisted, pull the other end of the opening and sew both ends together with a 1/2 inch or 1.3 centimeter overlap using a zigzag stitch. Push the elastic back into the opening and stitch the opening closed with a stretch stitch or cover stitch. Stretch the hem of the sleeve a few times to allow the fabric to distribute evenly around the elastic. Turn the sleeve right side out. Sew a gathering stitch 1/4 inch or 0.6 centimeters from the rounded sleeve cap edge between the two notches. Turn the bodice wrong side out. Keeping the sleeves right side out, insert the sleeve into the arm opening of the bodice right sides together. Align the seam of the sleeve with the underarm seam of the bodice. Pin or clip into place and continue pinning or clipping each direction until the gathering notches are reached. Pull the gathering stitch and gather the cap of the sleeve evenly to fill the opening. Pin or clip in place. Sew to attach the sleeve to the bodice using a stretch stitch or serger and a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance. Place the two skirt pieces right sides together. Sew at the short sides using a stretch stitch or serger and a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance. Place two ruffle pieces right sides together. Sew at one short end only using a stretch stitch or serger and a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance. Making sure none of the ruffle pieces are twisted, place the last two short ends right sides together. Sew to attach with a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance to create one continuous loop of fabric. For a professional finish, serge the bottom raw edge of the ruffle. Do not cut off any of the fabric while doing so. Fold the bottom edge of the ruffle 5/8 of an inch or 1.6 centimeters wrong sides together. Press. Sew to secure the hem using a long straight stitch or cover stitch. Sew 2 rows of gathering stitches between the side seams along the top raw edge of the ruffle using a 1/4 inch or 0.6 centimeter and 1/2 inch or 1.3 centimeter seam allowance. Repeat for the front and back of the ruffle. Gather the ruffle the same width as the skirt. Make sure to distribute the gathers evenly between the side seams. Keeping the skirt right side out and the ruffle wrong side out, slide the ruffle over the hem of the skirt right sides together. Pin or clip into place, basting the ruffle to the skirt using a straight stitch and a 1/4 inch or 0.6 centimeter seam allowance. Sew to attach using a stretch stitch or serger and a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance. Flip the ruffle down and press the seam allowance up toward the skirt. Sew 2 rows of gathering stitches between the side seams of the skirt opening using a 1/4 inch or 0.6 centimeter and a 1/2 inch or 1.3 centimeter seam allowance. Repeat for the front and back of the skirt. Gather the skirt the same width as the bodice. Turn the skirt wrong side out. Insert the bodice into the skirt right sides together. Align the side seams of the skirt and bodice. Pin or clip into place. Distribute the gathers evenly between these 2 points. Baste the skirt to the bodice using a straight stitch and a 1/4 inch or 0.6 centimeter seam allowance. Sew to attach using a stretch stitch or serger and a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance. Press the waist seam up toward the back bodice. Place the sash pieces right sides together. Sew at one short end using a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance. Fold the sash piece right sides together, aligning the long, raw edges. Pin or clip along the raw edges. Starting at one short end, sew along the raw edge to the sash using a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance. At the corner, pivot the sash around the needle at the 90-degree angle and continue sewing along the long raw edge. Stop sewing at about 4 inches or 10 centimeters before the center seam. Backstitch to secure. Leave a 2 inch or 5 centimeter opening for turning. Continue sewing the second half of the sash. And clip the corners. Turn the sash right side out through the opening. Press the edges and corners out nicely. Fold the raw edges of the opening inward and press. Top stitch the opening closed using a 1/8 of an inch or 0.3 centimeter seam allowance. Fold the belt loop in half wrong sides together. Press to create a memory crease and then unfold. Fold the raw edges of the belt loop toward that center crease and then press. Fold the belt loop in half again to enclose the long raw edges. Press and then sew to secure along the open edge using a 1/8 inch or 0.3 centimeter seam allowance and a stretch stitch or cover stitch. Repeat for the remaining belt loop. Fold the top and bottom ends of the belt loop 1/2 inch or 1.3 centimeters wrong sides together. Align one belt loop with one side seam of the dress, centering it over the waist seam. Top stitch the belt loop to the dress at the top and bottom edges. Repeat on the other side with the remaining belt loops. Feed the sash through the belt loops and tie it in a bow. You are now finished with the Felida Dress sew-along. Thank you for sewing along with us at Styla, and we hope to see you next time.